Is civic art a priority for you? I'm Charles Blaine, and this is Texas Tomorrow.
Are you worried about your kids' future? You should be. You're listening to Texas Tomorrow with Charles Blaine. Join Charles as he talks about the people and issues that are affecting you and your family at the local level of government.
Cities across the state, big and small, spend a lot on civic art. The state legislature allows 1% of the cost of public construction to be spent on fine art for local governments. While it doesn't seem like a lot, it can certainly add up, especially given that these public construction or capital improvement projects are usually tens of millions of dollars. The city of Houston, for instance, spends 1.75%, despite the state cap of 1%. They claim it's still legal. And some projects, they've spent $40,000, $50,000 or more on art. They've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on bands in the airport, for instance, and currently has an art collection consisting of over 800 pieces of art. The money can be used to purchase art, restore it, conserve it. So when they're building a new police or fire station, a certain amount of the project cost is set aside just for that. Dallas does it too, to the tune of 1.25%, 1.25%. With the millions in capital improvements they make annually, this leaves cities with massive public arts collections, and not just the city of Houston, but it applies to smaller cities as well. But how often do you actually take advantage of civic art? You might see it if you go through an airport or visit a public park, and it's a nice addition, but it certainly is not a necessity, especially when you're weighing the needs of a city. And you'll never see these pieces in the city administrative offices or other non-publicly trafficked places where people just are not at. What's more is that the art is often curated by a third-party nonprofit that cities contract with. Houston is currently considering renewing their contract with their third-party nonprofit for $25 million. And since it's a third-party nonprofit, you don't really have a way to provide oversight or even directly influence the art that they select. And they don't necessarily pick art that you want to see. I'd argue that a lot of it isn't even a direct benefit to you and probably isn't art that you would pick if you had the opportunity to do so. Local officials say it encourages economic development, but I'm unsure of how many businesses or people move to a city simply because they're in love with the art that they see in an airport. With issues like flooding and deferred maintenance on infrastructure and high crime and failing schools, it's hard to imagine that art trumps all of that and will lure people to move to any specific area. Dallas has a civic art collection of over 300, and Corpus Christi has amassed a large collection after being one of the first cities to implement the percent for art back in 1987. And I'm sure your city has some too. Take a look around and see if it represents you, but more importantly, see if with all of the competing needs of your city, art is where you want your dollars currently spent. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Texas Tomorrow. Let us know if there's something in your neighborhood that you think should be covered. We'd be happy to talk about it. And please make sure you like, share, and comment on this episode. So I hope you took something away from this. And if you did, make sure you tell a friend, a family member, share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you see fit. And make sure you tune in for next week's episode of Texas Tomorrow.